We are Pure Point Uranium. We've been working in northern Saskatchewan now for almost 20 years, I guess. We managed to handle ourselves through the downturn of uranium, and we're thrilled to be back as things kind of pick up in this particular sector. We have a fairly large portfolio of projects. We have 9 projects in the basin, most of which were picked up back in the 2004-2006 stage, and we were able to maintain them and hang on to them during a slower period of time, and we're just excited to be back and working them again now in earnest. Now that there's a lot of capital left back in the sector. We have 2 of those projects are joint ventures we have with Cameco and Orano, 2 of the largest uranium suppliers on the planet. I see Orano has some representation here, so I'll keep my rhetoric to a minimum. John, thank you. And they've been very, very supportive over the last decade too, as we've been working in that northern area. And of course, along the way, we've been able to put together a fairly strong team of folks that are now very well versed in what goes on in northern Saskatchewan and the geology along the way. As you probably have heard so far, we're up in northern Saskatchewan. This is the Athabasca Basin. It's where all of Canada's uranium currently comes from. Everything you see there in orange, those are our projects. On the right-hand side in orange, those are all of our 100% owned projects. And then on the left-hand side, those are our 2 joint ventures with Cameco and Orano. Our primary focus over the last few years has really been Hook Lake. Over on the left-hand side there. It sits adjacent to and on trend with NexGen's Arrow deposit and Fission's Triple R deposit, collectively a little over 350 million pounds of uranium there. It's a fairly large claim base, so there's been a lot of work we've been doing up there because we have targets and areas to look at all over the place. So it's really kept us busy over the last little while. We own 21% of that project. Cameco and Orano each own 39.5%, and we are the operator on that project. So it's kept us busy and kept us relevant over the years. And now we're really excited as to what we now understand about the area, what we're seeing, and a lot of the prospects that are still available to us out there. Quickly give you an idea of what it is we're doing up there and what we're looking at. This is a gravity survey of the area that was completed by the Geological Survey of Canada a couple years back. It was one of the more clear pictures we had of the entire region. And what we noticed, well, the purple is a gravity high and the blue is a gravity low. But what we saw was that a lot of the mineralization, or all of the mineralization that was occurring up the center, that Patterson corridor, was happening on that transition. And because of all of the drilling we were able to do, we were able to look at it and understand what the rock type was. Because as we got off of that corridor, if you will, we would lose, uranium mineralization. So that has really been our focus over the last little while. But as things have as we now better understand the area, the other thing we now know is that Clearwater domain that's in the blue was the heat source that would have helped mobilize that uranium and move it outward. And so it's drawn us to a new area, which is on the left of that. It's this, what we refer to as the Carter Corridor. And it's a corridor that's completely encapsulated within our claim block. We drilled it once back in 2008. Prior to any of the discoveries along the center area. That moved all of our attention to the center area. But we were at that time starting to hit a lot of good indications that things are out there. We now know that it is sitting on the most attractive rock type. It's closer to that heat source. And I don't know if I've got a laser on this thing, Dave, but do I? Well, what the hell. If you look at the little north arrow in the upper left-hand corner, that's approximately where F3 has been hitting some fabulous grades up there as well. So we see that whole notion of the mobilization of uranium moving outward really seems to be holding true on both sides of that blue line. So we have now recently, in the last year or so, moved our focus over to that Carter Corridor. We did some geophysics, additional geophysics a year and a half ago. And then last year, we went back and really did our first drill program out there in quite some time. As we focus in on this, those red lines you see that's graphite in the basement rock. It is a primary target for what we're looking for out there. And so what we started out by doing were fairly large step outs, 800-meter step outs along this corridor, because we have kilometers and kilometers of it to test, just to start to get a better understanding of the structure and the geology and what goes on down there. And of course, as it always seems to be, it was our last hole furthest to the north there where we started to come into uranium mineralization and a lot of the other indicators that we like to see as we're coming into more of a major deposit. So this year we are drilling even as we speak. We started a few weeks back. Our good friends at Cameco and Orano were up there this week to look at some of our rock. And we've been following up on that discovery from last year, and we're starting to move north again along that target area. So that program will be finishing up in the next month. We'll be getting assays shortly thereafter and reviewing it all with our partners, and then letting the world know how we're doing up there. Another project that we have a joint venture with Cameco, we own 27% of this. Cameco owns the other 73%, if that math works. And it's Smart Lake, and it's just to the west of Hook Lake. It's also on that western side of the province. And again, this is a project that we drilled a dozen years ago. We hit uranium on our first hole, but then everything lit up over at Hook Lake. So we moved all of our attention over to that area. But we're now going back. We've been up there a few times now with Cameco to review the core from that original drill program. We're doing some geophysics in the north just to get some more definition around those targets within the next month or two. And we'll be getting it prepared for a drill program as well. A couple other projects I'll speak to because, again, as we look at our projects, we've been able to advance all of them to pretty much a drill-ready state. There's a lot of work that goes into preparing these projects and really understanding where you want to start poking a hole in the ground. This one's Red Willow. It sits on the eastern side of the province. We own 100% of it. It sits right at the north end of the mine trend that cuts up through that side of the basin. Everything you see there, those orange circles, all represent drill targets that we've defined quite some time ago. And we've really now just recently been able to pull a sheet off of them and go back to that area and really start following up on those prospects. The gray areas, Osprey, Geneva, and Radon, you see there on the lower left, those areas we have been drilling. We've done we've pretty much tested those as much as we're going to right now. But we have identified uranium mineralization throughout the area. Alteration and a lot of other indications that show that there's been a lot of events going on through the area. So we're quite keen on getting back up to that probably in the spring. Another project we're getting back to now, again after a number of years, is Turner Lake. It sits again at the northern end of that mine trend. And that whole area has been, over the years, has identified a fair amount of mineralization going on. In particular, along the left hand, the western side, that corridor, that La Roque corridor, identified initially by Orano, they had hit nearly 30% over 7 meters. Right there to the south, Orano hit 3.8 meters or percent over 10 meters, 10.5 meters. And then to the north now we're looking at IsoEnergy's Hurricane deposit, which has come in at a staggering 34.5% and close to 49 million pounds. So there's a lot of activity going on in that area. Those dots are about 8 kilometers apart, so this is a fairly long trending area. And we are to the north of our project, that northern area where the corridor continues. Hasn't been properly tested yet, so we're going to be back up there drilling this summer, and also to we have a number of other targets to the south. So this is this is one of those projects that we did a fair amount of work on 15 years ago, and we're able to really keep on maintenance while prices were low, and hang on to it and maintain it so we could come back to it at this point in time when we've got money to properly work it. So, I mean, we have a number of other projects we're working this year. We're doing geophysics over our Russell Lake project, over Tabernor. There's 9 in total, as I say, and we're getting them all ready so that we can continue. Right now, we're in the mode of wanting to be drilling at all times. So we've got the money in the bank to keep our drills going this year, and that's the intention, is to keep those drills turning. So I think you know, in summary, we've got a great portfolio of projects that we've maintained and advanced over the years and are now just drilling full on. We've got fabulous partners in Cameco and Orano that validate what we're doing, certainly at Hook Lake and Smart Lake, and the group certainly knows what they're doing these days. So we're just happy to be back in the fold and see uranium doing what it's doing again. Maybe I'll leave it there.